Breaking news. Ukraine strikes a Russian military convoy with drones.
At 1,347 hours, near the shattered village of Kostiantan, time was running out. For the Russians, it was a perfect window. For the Ukrainians, it was a trap about to be sprung. 18 armored vehicles, a fist of Russian steel, pushed through the mud, thinking the storm was their shield. They were wrong. The storm was about to betray them. Heavy rain had grounded the eyes in the sky all morning. The Russian column commander had timed his move perfectly. But down in the muck, 3 Ukrainian drone teams weren't sleeping. They were watching the weather radar like hawks. And they saw it, the storm cell was disintegrating faster than anyone predicted. In a matter of minutes, clear skies would turn a safe road march into a killing field. The Russians were on the clock 10 minutes from the concrete ruins of an abandoned collective farm. If they made it to that cover, those tanks would be untouchable. Tomorrow, they would wreak havoc. They had to be stopped now. But the instant those drones took to the air and transmitted their first signals, they lit up the Russian electromagnetic spectrum like a Christmas tree. They were no longer hunters. They were prey. In 0.3 seconds, they were identified. Within 8 kilometers, the system pinpointed the Ukrainian positions to within 25 meters. That's accurate enough for a precision artillery strike. The data flowed instantly through encrypted channels to gun crews 12 kilometers behind the column. The Russians weren't just armored, they were wired. The Ukrainians had seconds, not minutes. The break in the weather was a double-edged sword. Visibility jumped from 200 meters to 2 kilometers. The target was clear, but so were the drone operators. The Zoopark M1. It works by a terrifyingly simple principle. When a drone transmits, 3 separate receivers log the exact microsecond the signal arrives. Radio waves travel at the speed of light. Even nanosecond differences reveal the distance. 3 receivers create a mathematical crosshair, and you are the bullseye. The stakes for Scholar's team were brutally simple. Hand off control of their 8 drones to the second team and run, or be vaporized. They initiated the transfer. This was the first choke point. An 800-meter handoff to a new operator, a 3-second vulnerability window where the drones flew blind. At 140 kilometers an hour, that's 116 meters of unguided flight. A single failed handoff, and a third of their attack force would fly straight into the dirt. They had 90 seconds. Krasnopol-guided rounds were already in the air. 152mm shells with laser seekers that could adjust in the final seconds of flight to follow a target painted by a drone. What would you have done in that moment? Could you have kept your hands steady enough to complete that transfer? Share your thoughts in the comments. The second team was now in control, and the Russians knew it. The Orlan 3-0 reconnaissance drone, circling at 2,000 meters, locked its infrared laser on their new position. The SER VSS-5 detected the 300 millisecond spike when both operators transmitted. The accuracy jumped from 25 meters to 10. They had 90 seconds. The math was simple and terrifying. 45 seconds for Russian guns to recalculate, 30 for the rounds to fly, but they needed only 5 seconds to transfer control if needed. Another shell hits 150 meters out. The operators can feel the concussion in their chests. It's now or never. They initiate the transfer to the third team while simultaneously snatching up their backup tablets, the only gear that matters. Everything else, sleeping bags, photos from home, stays behind. It's a race against the walking barrages of high explosives. And now, the final, most delicate dance began. 24 drones from 3 launch sites, all converging at 140 kilometers per hour. In the static-filled video feeds, the operators can't see each other's drones. A mid-air collision would turn $2 million worth of precision munitions into plastic confetti. They had practiced this for weeks. A carefully choreographed ballet of altitude and timing, a 5-second separation. In theory, it was perfect. In practice, with wind shear and degrading signals, it was a nightmare. One team climbing to avoid turbulence could fly directly into another's flight path. They had to trust the plan and each other completely, and nature decided to enter the fight. The next storm cell, advancing at 30 kilometers per hour. In 4 minutes, it would arrive, its lightning strikes generating electromagnetic pulses that could scramble every control signal. The window was closing from both ends. Artillery from behind, a storm from the front. Battery levels were at 60%. They had 1 attack run, no second chances. The Russians were ready for this. The BMPT Terminators were built for this exact moment, to create an anti-drone umbrella. Their AG-17D grenade launchers could fire 400 rounds per minute, air bursting, to create a wall of shrapnel. Their fire control computer could track 6 targets simultaneously. In theory, it was impenetrable, but the system had a fatal Soviet-era flaw. It was designed for 6 targets, not 20. The targeting computer overwhelmed began to stutter, jumping between targets without completing engagements. It prioritized by radar cross-section, but all FPV drones look identical. It was a brain frozen by too many choices. The Ukrainians knew the algorithm. They synchronized their attack to present more problems than the Russian AI could solve. It was a digital David against a confused Goliath. This wasn't a random strike. This was a clinical dissection. They weren't aiming for the main armor. They were aiming for the gaps. The space between the turret and hull, the engine deck grills, the vision blocks, the weak points where jury-rigged cage armor didn't quite meet the hull, places where 3 kilograms of shaped charge could do catastrophic damage. What followed was 8 seconds of controlled chaos. Not every strike was a kill. Some drones detonated harmlessly on the cage armor. Others struck the main glacis plate at too shallow an angle and ricocheted into the sky, but enough found their mark. In 90 seconds, a column meant to be the tip of the spear for tomorrow's attack was rendered a burning, twisted monument to Ukrainian ingenuity and Russian electronic over-reliance. And the cleanup began one by one. Those 4 remaining drones identified any vehicle that might be recoverable, a tank with a damaged track, a BMP with a dead crew but an intact engine, and promptly made them a permanent part of the Ukrainian countryside. The storm finally arrived, but it was too late. It didn't wash away the evidence. It just watered the fields around the graveyard of a Russian attack that never was. All because 3 teams of determined soldiers, armed with cheap drones and expensive courage, outthought, outfought, and outlasted one of the most advanced combined arms threats on the modern battlefield. This was a deep dive into the electronic cat-and-mouse game that defines the war in Ukraine. The technology is evolving daily. What do you want to see next? The secret world of Russian EW systems? A breakdown of Ukrainian Baba Yaga night drones? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next Frontline analysis.